No. Connection available. Facebook, are we live? Yes, we're live. It's telling me to rotate my phone. I think we're fine. Let me know if this is completely twisted. If so, we'll pull the audio or the video from Instagram. I was just saying hi to everyone on Instagram. Happy Tuesday, besties and bosses. And I was letting everyone know I'm upstate. I work upstate once in a while instead of the city, and the Wi-Fi here, it's a little trickier. So sometimes we have some fun technical difficulties to work with, but I think we're gonna make this work. We usually do. And besties and bosses, just let me know if I gotta rotate. So today's topic, and hey, whoever just joined, let me know. Do I need to rotate my screen or can you see me correctly? And then we will dig in. So, and hey Jeff, nice to have you. Today's topic, what I want to dig into are 3 common things I see come up over and over again with clients, with peers I know in the industry that are keeping us stuck in our business. And I think they're really sneaky. And I want to talk about some really easy ways to shift out of them so you can start getting massive results in your business now. And let's see. Kelly says, nope, all set. Thank you. Okay, good. I'm glad I'm good over here. I think I'm fine on Facebook as well. So, and this is for, raise your hand if you've ever been there. Who hasn't been in their business and just feels like maybe you're hitting the wall. You just feel like you're just so desperate either to leave your 9 to 5 or to get things going. Maybe you just feel like you don't know how to get started. You just wish someone would tell you how to get started. Maybe it just feels a little like you have all of these ideas and like, why the heck, like, you know what to do. Why can't you get your business going? And hey, Rosetta, let me know if you've ever been there. Give me some praise hands or raise hand. I know I've been there, so no shame. It is very common. Brad says thumbs up. Here's what I will say. We're going to dig into 3 things. The first thing I think that is really universal, and I think it's a little sneaky, is something that stops almost every entrepreneur, is waiting for the perfect idea. Now, before you grow and you're like, yeah, Kim, I've heard all about perfectionism. Done is better than perfect. I got that down. I don't worry about typos in my posts, and I just put stuff out there. This doesn't apply to me. Let's just roll it back a little bit and break this down a little bit, because I think this is a sneaky one that creeps up on us at different points in our business. And I think it is something that, especially for those of us who are recovering perfectionists who think we've master that perfectionism thing and we've got that whole done is better than perfect thing down, this can still come up. And I would say this is one of the biggest things I see that keeps people from failing to launch their businesses in the first place, that keeps them from launching and scaling their business, that keeps them from growing to the next level. And it is something I have a conversation with clients all the dang time. And this is something I have to be really mindful of as well. So it's not, I'm a recovering perfectionist. It's not like this is something I haven't had to face. So let's talk about what this looks like a little bit. Hey, Rosetta, nice to have you here. Waiting for the perfect idea is sneaky because, again, I think online we hear a lot about, shiny object syndrome and how important it is to have focus. And so when we're wanting to launch our business, or when we've built a business and we're thinking about scaling, I think it's really, really easy for us to get into this place where we're like, okay, cool. So I don't want to get in shiny object syndrome, and I just want to make sure I have the right idea because I want to be really focused and I want to show up and do all the things really right so that I know I can be successful. And I want to make sure I have all the pieces in place. Anyone been there? Let me know if you've been there. I know I have, no shame, but I'd love to just have a conversation around this. Really, really common and normal, except here is the thing with this, why this keeps us stuck. There's never a perfect idea, and there's never going to be this. There are ideas that feel good, but this here is the thing. And what I find more often than not is, this is why this is a part of my coaching framework, clarity, mindset, strategy, and action. Notice there's a clarity piece and an action piece, because so much of our clarity is found through action. And the longer we are waiting for the perfect idea, for the perfect strategy, for the perfect business plan, for the perfect thing to get started on, the longer we are going to stay stuck, and the longer we're going to delay results, and the longer we're going to start digging a hole, because who hasn't been there when you're in ideation mode, which I'm all for. I've been in that recently. But when we're waiting for the perfect thing, it's there's just always another reason why it's not right. Versus, and Affinity says, hi there, good afternoon. Hey, nice to have you. Let me know if this is resonating for you all. Feel free to throw questions at me as well while we're digging into this. Versus, here's what I know to be true, and I was just talking about this with a client today. More often than not, we have a very imperfect idea. That is normal in business. If you look at corporations, look at Coca-Cola, look at any big business, Most successful businesses start with a very imperfect idea. It's perfectly imperfect, and then they very quickly make a decision to take action and start moving forward with this idea. While you are in this very focused, we're still going focused, we're not like doing all the things, but very focused in on this idea, and you're taking action, you start to get data and feedback. Business is all about testing and refining and getting this data from our business and then refining our process. It's really hard to have data. It's really hard to have information. It's really hard to have something that's going to help you clarify anything in business if you're not putting it into action. And the longer we're waiting for the perfect idea, the more time we're spinning our wheels, feeling stuck, the more we're digging into our self-doubt and all of the confidence things and the reasons we can't do it, which is just a whole nother reason we'll get stuck in perfectionism, because that's all about fear, right? But the longer we're also delaying getting ourselves out there very imperfectly and allowing ourselves to open up to a pool of data that we can start using to refine our idea. And that's how we get not that anything's perfect or we're aiming for perfect, but that's how we get a perfect idea in business. Perfect ideas in business, innovation, invention, brilliant light bulb moments, more often than not, come through the process of taking action, again, on that very original, imperfect idea. If I had waited until I had the perfect business idea and perfect business model and perfect niche and perfect clarity on who my ideal clients are, I can promise you right now, we would not be talking, because I found all of that out. All of that clarity came by me taking very imperfect action, mining all that action feedback for data, and using that to refine. Jacqueline, hey, Hobby, nice to have you here. Facebook, let me know if this is rotated the right way. Hey, Andrew, nice to have you. Let me know if this is making sense, y'all. I'm going to invite, just to like really drive this home for you all, I'm going to invite everyone to just think about something you're really proud of in your life. It can be in business, it can be out of business, it can be a creative endeavor, it can be a personal endeavor, something you're just excited about, something you're proud of. And that you're kind of at the completion of, or you're at a place where you feel really good about it. Like, it is a good idea, it's been a good thing in your life. If you can go back to the inception, whatever the right word is there, for that idea, for that process, let me ask you, was it fully fleshed? Were all the dots connected? Did you know all of the things? Was it a perfect idea or plan? Or did this wonderful thing become perfect and refined through taking action? Did it become more clear through taking action? Just seeing, Andrew says, hi, you're sideways. Okay, I am sideways. While y'all mull on that, give me some comments. I'm just going to see if I can flip this over. How do I do this? Let's see. Okay, I think it needs to be like this. Let's see if I can put you... Will this work? Okay, I want to not have you guys in my boobs because that's a little not good for our live stream. I think that's working. Okay. We're going to toggle this way. Let me know, hopefully I didn't lose you all there. Let me know if that's making sense and if you've ever experienced that. I can give my business 100%, where I'm at today in my business, I have really good clarity on my business. I'm really locked in on who I serve. I am locked and loaded on my business model. You cannot strip it away from me, to the point of conversation we're going to have next week or the week after around that I'm very fired up about. I am very, very clear on how I serve my clients, on what I have in my coaching program, on who I want to serve, on what I offer and what I don't offer. None of that was clear or perfect when I started my business. Not a single iota of that. That all came through taking very imperfect action. Andrew says, all good, thank you. So just let that one mull around. I think that is probably the number one thing I see stall people out in business, that blocks us from results. And again, I really want to be mindful here and just have everyone think about this. I think we can think, I've broken up with perfectionism. I'm not a perfectionist because I do put stuff out there and I'm not worried about the little things being perfect. And we don't realize how perfectionism can sneak into things like our ideas or our ideal clients or our niche or our business model, and how often we're waiting for those pieces in our business to be perfect, to be fully formed before we're willing to execute and take action on them. When in reality, of course, we want to have some clarity and we don't want to just fling crap at the wall. We're talking about being very intentional and strategic here. But if we're being intentional and strategic, most of our clarity on all of those pieces in business are going to happen they're going to happen after we take action. that making sense? And I promise you this, I was talking with a client about this last week who's getting ready to launch a program. There was a lot of this conversation because this is really easy if you're getting ready to launch a course or a program. We want like the perfect program idea, right? The perfect course idea. Like what is the perfect thing and the perfect way to launch it? And this is the conversation we were having around how so much of that clarity around what works, what doesn't work, what the perfect model for this client of mine is going to be, so much of that is going to come through the doing. And again, not scatter doing, not doing all the things, through doing from a very intentional, focused, strategic way. But that is why Marie Forleo, we can use her as an example. That is why someone like Marie Forleo has a program, most of you I think know who she is, why I'm using her, has a program like B School that is so incredibly effective and that she does so well selling. She has refined that. She's in year 26 of business, and I think this program came out 15 years into her business. That perfect program for her came after refining and imperfect action and putting something out and putting something out and putting something out, getting the data, getting the feedback, and then seeing what that led her to essentially next. Brad says, how about fear of not knowing enough or not having the right information? And Affinity says, makes sense, awesome. So Brad, I think that's a great perfect tie into this, and so thank you for bringing that up. I appreciate that. First and foremost, let's just call the elephant in the room here. Fear of not being enough, not knowing enough, fear of not enoughness is very, very universal and human. I don't know, quite honestly, I don't have a single client who doesn't come up against this. This is one of the things I have to continually just do the mindset work on. So I just want to normalize that, because I think sometimes we think we're the only one who feels that way, or we're the only one who comes up against imposter syndrome. And then the same thing in terms of not having the right information. Just very, very normal. Essentially, our brain is wired to keep us safe. And perfectionism is a form of fear. We lean into perfectionism when we're feeling scared. As long as basically the mechanism of perfectionism is the idea that if I can just make everything perfect, if I can get enough information, if I can get the right idea, if I can get everything right, then I'm going to be safe. And I can't get rejected, or I can't fail, or I don't have to worry that I don't know enough, because this little mechanism of perfectionism is going to keep me safe. And so it's kind of all part of the same thing, if that's making sense, Brad. Very, 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 very normal. And what I would say with something like perfectionism, or something like fear of not feeling good enough or not having the right information, we might have to do a whole nother live stream on this, but is to really recognize how normal this is, and that this is a fear, so that we're solving for the fear and addressing fear, which one of the ways to address fear is to recognize and acknowledge that it is a fear, to have some awareness around it. And one of the best ways through fear, especially when we acknowledge this isn't a fear that's actually going to kill me, this is a fear because I'm working my edge and at the edge of my comfort zones. One of the best ways to move through fear is to look at it, shine a spotlight on it, don't even have to do anything with it, isn't that interesting? I don't have to solve for it. I don't have to get underneath it. I don't have to figure out what my childhood drama is around it. I just need to see I have this fear, and what action can I take that moves me towards my values, towards what I want? And so that kind of brings us back to our conversation here. If we're feeling fear coming up around putting ourselves out there, whether it's around identifying your ideal client, or it's around launching a program, or it's around launching your business, normal. But what we want to identify, that perfectionism thing, we want to say, hey, this is fear. Cool, I'm going to identify this as fear. I have a fun exercise I give clients is sometimes we write our fears out every day. Just look at those fears. It's kind of I don't know why I'm looking this way. I'm thinking there's a light switch. It's kind of like when you're a kid, if you're scared of the dark. And I used to be scared of the clothes in my closet. I thought they looked like monsters. And as soon as I turned the light switch on, everything was fine. And I saw it was just clothes hanging on the hanger. Our adult fears in business are exactly the same way. As soon as we can turn the light on and see them for what they are, it helps to neutralize them and to normalize them and just to let them be as fears. And then again, with that, the way we move through it, don't try to solve it. Don't try to fix it. Don't try to wrestle with it. Fear will always win. If you try to argue with your fear, I promise you all, your fear is stronger than your best argument. So don't try to argue with it. However, I think the best thing, identify the fear. What do I value? What do I want? What is one small action I can take towards what I value? And so bringing it back to what we're talking about here, if it's I'm looking for the perfect idea and I want to know I have all the right information and I want to feel good enough and I know this is some fear, cool. And what's one small action? What do I value? What do I want? What I want is a business. What I want is to make money, with my creative work. What I want is fill in the blank. this is the thing I value. What's one small action I can take towards that? Because then you're going to start to build up that evidence and that muscle that says, hey, look, I'm still alive. I didn't die. And now I can take another action and another action. Let me know if that little riff, Brad, if that makes sense. Affinity says, makes sense. Awesome. I am slightly blind, so don't mind me leaning in. Wellness Hive, hi. Hey, Wilson. And Facebook, I don't know why it's doing it this way, so I'm sorry we're at like a super weird angle, but let me know if you can hear me okay, and if you have any questions, reflections. Brad, let me know if that makes sense. Thank you for that question. And the Wellness Hive says thumbs up. I'm gonna take a sip of water because I'm all excited about this. And then we'll go on to the next one. The next piece here, unless anyone has a thought, a question, anything they want to add. If not, we'll go on to the next one. We can always go backwards. The second piece here, the second way I see that we get stuck, all of us, this is very universal. I think this is one of the most common things, and it really piggybacks on this first idea here that we were talking about, so they're really aligned, is waiting to be ready and waiting for the right time. All part of the same mechanism we're talking about here in terms of mindset and what holds us back, but this one's a little different, and I see this one as a really, really interesting one. And this is kind of like the waiting for the perfect idea. I think it's waiting for the perfect time, but really the story around this one and what keeps us stuck is I'm not ready yet, and I need to wait to be ready. I'm not ready because like the timing's not right. I'm not ready because I've got my 9 to 5, or I've got the kids, or if I just had more time, or I don't have the money to invest in coaching. I hear that one all the time. Said with love, y'all, you'll never be ready, ever, which is what we're going to talk about. I'm not ready because I don't have enough information. I don't know enough. I need to take another program or another course. I need another degree. It's not the time because next week I have something with my kids, and the month after. You get where I'm going with this, but it's kind of like for those of you who've ever decided you want to, I don't know, train for a marathon or get in shape or get healthy. There's never a right time. There's always a party or some sort of thing that's going to pop up to get in your way. If you want to go on vacation, if you want to move, for those of you who have parents, pretty sure there was never a right time that you were going to be ready to have kids, right? It's the same exact thing in business. There's never a time where you're going to feel ready. If you feel ready, chances are you've waited too long. And I say that with love, but for anything worth dealing with, anything worth wanting, we rarely feel ready. And I don't have enough information, I don't know enough, I'm not good enough, the time, all those things, again, said with all the love as someone who like, my brain, I'm human, wired the same way. These are the same stories that I have that pop up that want to go on in there. These are all the stories we tell ourselves because they're like a nice warm cozy blanket to keep us exactly right where we are and to keep us safe. What I know to be true is not only are you not going to feel ready for the things you really want in life, and again, if you feel ready, said with love, you probably waited too long, but more often than not, the people I see who are like my clients who are really having that massive success or have those quantum leaps with their income and their impact, or who are starting out, but I know like there are a few where you might be watching where I'm just like, I know you're going to rock this. That is because they have the mindset of, I always want to butcher this, so let me see if I can say it right. They have the mindset of aim, fire, ready. So instead of ready, what is it? Ready, aim, fire, where you want to be ready first. They have that mindset of, I'm going to aim at what I want. I'm going to take action. I'm going to fire. And then I know through that process, I'm going to get ready. Like I'm going to be ready through the process of doing. And it's interesting, I think, like as a side note here, for those of you who've been hanging with me, you know I'm like 99% of business is mindset. Mindset. Like mindset is the thing. And there's a reason my business or my coaching framework is clarity, mindset, strategy, and action. Not only is action absolutely essential if we want to get results in business, so often the action piece of that framework and of that cycle is what gives us the clarity, and it's what reinforces our mindset and allows us to be ready. So taking action before we're ready, that is often the process that makes us feel ready. If you're a parent, having the kid, suddenly you snap to action and you figure that shit out. And you become successful at it because you've got a crying baby there and you have to figure it out, right? And then you snap into action and suddenly you're ready, even if you don't feel ready. And it's the same, silliest example, but I know I have some mom clients and we joke about this. It's the same exact thing in business. But society, especially the online space, wants to sell us whole lot of programs around, here are all the things you need to do to get ready. Here are all the things you need in place to plan. Here are all the things you need to do before you start taking action. And that's fine. That's marketing. However, that just reinforces the stories we're telling ourselves. It's like great marketing because it reinforces our fears and it reinforces like our little cozy blanket we want to stay safe. Except it goes in direct opposition of what we need to do if we want to get unstuck in business and actually move forward. Just seeing if I have any comments here because I'm like ranting today. Brad says, also it's hard not to get scattered on which thing to focus on and keep bouncing around. Absolutely. So yeah, we can go back to that and then we'll come back to this. Brad, absolutely. I think so. Hey Jen, nice to have you. I think that's absolutely such a great point to speak about. So I'd say two things to that. And then almost we need to maybe have another live stream because I'm just going to talk about all the things. I think there's something to be said for the ideation brainstorming phase in business, in the creative process. And I think we have Andrew here. He's a writer. I have quite a few clients who are creatives, and so they're business owners, but monetizing whether they're, authors or speakers who are doing the creative work, and then business owners who are, maybe they're creating a new program or they're launching. And so I think there's generally a phase in which we're going through that ideation process to get the idea. And what we're not saying is and I think thank you so much for bringing this up, Brad, because what I'm not saying is every idea you should go and take action on and like just throw a bunch of crap at the wall and do all the things. That's not what we're saying here at all. And that's a different conversation. Like the ideation phase is so important, and it's so important to get clear that the majority of our ideas we're never going to execute on. I have like a notebook of ideas I'm never going to execute on, and I just went through a process of essentially creating something I'm very clearly not going to execute on for a bunch of reasons I'll share in a few weeks. And so I think that ideation phase, so important. And there comes a time when we are ready to put ourselves out in the world. We've gone through the ideation phase and we've narrowed it in, and we do have an idea. And I think this is when what we're talking about in terms of waiting for the perfect idea or waiting for the perfect script idea or waiting for the perfect book idea. This is when that can come up, when we've like gone through the ideation phase. We have something like we're pretty sure this could be the one, or at least it feels like the best one we have. And then we start like refining it and brainstorming it and like second guessing it and like spinning our wheels and waiting for like, well, it's not completely perfect and I don't have the full plot, fleshed out if we're writing a book, for example. And we start trying to perfect it instead of saying, this is the best idea I have. I'm going to run with it. And through that, I'm going to get clear and I'm going to flesh it out. And if it's not a good idea, I'm going to trash it and go to a new idea or figure out what's right for me in the process. Or through this process, I'm going to flesh out the missing pieces that it has. So Brad, let me know if that makes sense. Hopefully that addresses that thought. Thank you for that, because I think that's really important. Brad says, child analogy makes a lot of sense. Figure it out as you go, fake it till you make it. Yes, and I'll say, we want to be in integrity, so no, we're not faking it, but I do think it's, and not figure it out as you go, like yes to what you're saying, Brad, so I'm not saying this to you, I'm just saying as a general concept. We're not talking about flinging crap at the wall or being unintentional. We're talking about having something we're clear on wanting to move towards, an idea, a business plan, a book, a script, a speech, and then taking very intentional, strategic, clear, focused action towards that thing and allowing that action to be imperfect and allowing ourselves to be open to receive the feedback and data so we can refine as we go. So whether that means we are, for some reason, writing is the thing we're going with today. Let's say we're writing a book or a script, allowing ourselves to have this general plot idea and the character ideas and allowing ourselves as we're writing to get more clear and flesh this out and maybe realize one character doesn't make sense or the plot line needs to change a little bit or the ending needs to be a little different or maybe we don't know how the book or the script ends yet and we're allowing ourselves to figure that out as we go. In business, maybe it's I use myself as an example. I know I want to do one-on-one coaching and like that is the thing and I'm going all in, but maybe I don't know my perfect niche or maybe I don't know exactly how the business model is going to look 3 years from now, taking action on that, getting the feedback and refining as I go. All right. I'm hitting you all over the head with this. Andrew says, yes, exactly. Thank you. You're the best. Okay. Oh, hey, Andrea. Nice to have you here. All right. So thank you. Thank you for all the comments. It makes it so much, hey Jen, thanks for the wave. It makes it so much more fun to have a conversation when we're riffing back. let me know if those last ideas landed and if you have any questions or any more reflections. I'm loving this and I love all of you so much. All right, so we were talking about waiting to be ready, just to kind of bring it back full circle. And I think the antidote, the solution to this, the way to get unstuck, the way to move forward in business, this almost sounds like overly obvious, but it really and truly is taking action before you're ready and being willing. Here's the thing with business. Business growth in general happens through the process of being uncomfortable, through discomfort. When we are stretching our comfort zone, when we're working that edge of our comfort zone, we are going to be uncomfortable. We're generally not going to feel ready, and that's going to feel uncomfortable. And I think knowing that that discomfort is normal and that is the sign of growth and like that's how we become ready, I think that can be really helpful just to know. And I think it's very similar to what we were talking about before, starting to think about how can I take action before I'm ready? Not on all the things. Again, we're not throwing crap at the wall, but when we have the thing we want to move forward on, how can I take action before I'm ready? How, again, can I sit in this discomfort and be willing to do what most people aren't willing to do? Most people aren't willing to sit in discomfort. The easy button when we feel uncomfortable, the thing we want to hit, that snuggie blanket we want to like grab when we're feeling uncomfortable, is to say I'm not ready and to fill in the 4,000 excuses of all the things we have going on. Or to tell ourselves the story that, well, when I have a successful business, or when I have the kid, or when I've written the script, then I'll be ready. And that we forget that that's like on the other side of taking action. And then again, getting clear on, okay, I'm going to be willing to sit in this discomfort. Like, I'm just going to be that person who is willing to be uncomfortable. It's like going to the gym and like being willing to sit in the yoga pose, even though you're shaking, or do that extra rep, even though it kind of hurts, knowing that that is what allows you to have your fitness growth. It's the same thing in business. Being willing to sit in that discomfort and then noticing the fear that pops up, not trying to fight with it. And again, getting clear on what is that one small action I can take to move forward that I don't feel ready to take, but that I'm going to take anyway and be uncomfortable in. And if you need to get support around that, cool. All of us need support. There's nothing wrong with you. Like, welcome to being human. Let's see if we have any other comments. I'm like sitting here like waiting to give the thumbs up. Just seeing. This is such a funny setup. Okay, I think I've hit you all over the head with that. Let's go on to the third one. If you have thoughts, if you have reflections, share them with me. The third way I see us getting stuck. Oh, this is a big one. This is the way I see so many people getting stuck, and I think if you're willing to embrace this one, I think this is the way to massive results. It is going to sound like this is leaning into this is going to make things slow down. And I promise you, this is the way to faster results. I would say this one right here, because I've been willing to embrace this, I think it's like my superpower in business and when I was acting and just in life in general. And that is, wait for it, anticipation. No, I'm kidding. That is being willing to let it take as long as it takes. And I know that does not sound like Kim. That doesn't sound like the fast way to results, but hear me out on this, because I think this one is so incredibly important, and I think this is the one so many people miss, and this is the one that, like, I cannot tell you, like, for myself, like, what a gift this has been to give myself, and then how I see the clients who lean into this, what a gift this is for them in business. Here's the deal. There is no time, like, the timeline for all of us is different. Anyone who tells you otherwise is full of shit, quite honestly. There is no like secret to overnight success, anything you want to do outside of like, yes, we're using the kid example. It takes 9 months to have a kid, fine. But when we're talking about business and creative work, the path, the time it takes to create the results you want is going to be different for everyone. Absolutely getting support, learning strategy, taking action, it speeds up the process. But it's like crazy to think that five of us are going to follow the same exact formula. There's no formula, by the way, but let's say we were, and that we're all going to be on the same timeline. So we're all coming in with different experiences, different mindset stuff we're going to work with, different places we're at in business, different experience, different networks, like a million different like variables we're going to throw into the pot. And that being said, if you're good at what you do and you have an offer that works and you're excited about it and it's aligned, and you follow a strategy and you stay in it and you commit to it and you don't fucking burn it down every 5 seconds, every strategy works, and business itself is not that complicated. what makes it complicated, and I say this, I feel like all the time, is what's up here. And what I see cause people to get stuck and burn down their businesses and mess with their results over and over and over again is they are so desperate to get out of their business, or so desperate to make money, or so desperate to prove to themselves they're good enough, or so desperate for results, or so desperate for like yesterday, like this business needs to give me money now, that they're essentially, here's my example. They're essentially planting seeds in their business. They're watering them. And then a day later, they're like, why the fuck have these seeds not grown? And then they like dig them up to look at them and rip the seeds out because they haven't grown. And then the next day they start all over again and they plant some seeds and they go through the same process. A week later, they're like, I'm going to be patient because Kim told me just to like let it take as long as it's going to take. So they plant a bunch of seeds and they wait a week and they don't have the results they want. And so they rip them up. Meanwhile, what they don't realize is those seeds have been growing the whole time and they've just killed. And they're like starting over and starting over and starting over. And they're also bringing this energy to it. And it is the quickest way to stay stuck and to burn your business down. And we do this in so many ways. We do this with our strategy. We do this with our offers. We do this in a million different ways. And I say this with love because I get it. Like I get where it comes from. And it is probably the number one way we sabotage our success and stay stuck in business. And the antidote for this, if you are willing to just let it take as long as it's going to take, because that's how long it's going to take. If you're willing to lean into that and just embrace, I'm going to plant these seeds and I'm going to water them and they're just going to take however long they're going to take to grow. Here is the fucking magic. Suddenly you're not all desperate and needy and you're not digging them up every week and they're going to grow so much faster and they're going to grow some fucking roots that can stand the test of time. So when there's a storm that comes through and everyone else who's been like ripping up their seeds every week or like trying to buy a potted plant from someone else and just like plant it into their soil, weirdest analogy ever, your plants are going to be just fine because they've got roots that are super, super sturdy. And you're going to start to notice, I think I was talking about this with a client today, so this is probably why this is on my head, but you're going to start to notice that some seeds, oh my gosh, they actually pop up really quickly, like overnight. Like things don't actually have to take that long. And other ones are going to take longer. But either way, everything's going to happen faster because you're not getting in your own way and burning down what you're doing all the time. And my coach said this to me at one point when I was feeling very blessed and lucky for what I've created. And she reminded me that this did not happen overnight. Not only have I been really intentional, but I've been really willing just to let the process take as long as the process takes. And I swear that has been my superpower. It was my superpower when I was acting. It's like, I was dedicated to acting for a decade, y'all. I did a dozen films. I did a dozen commercials. That's like by no means a short amount of time. Part of what made that possible for me is I was just like willing to let that take as long as it took until it was no longer what I wanted to do anymore. And it's, I think, the same thing in business. I promise you, if you can adopt that mentality, not only will it work for you, it's like inevitable, especially if you're then showing up and taking action. Like it's kind of impossible. It makes you unstoppable because if you're just in it for as long as it takes, like no one can fuck with you. And the beauty is things will actually happen faster because you've detached from that timeline and you're not putting that pressure cooker situation onto your business and onto your results. And just think about it from like a really practical business standpoint. If you're someone who's buying something from a service provider or from a business or buying a book or a script, if the person on the other side is like super frantic and desperate because they just need to know that they're good enough or need to make money to leave their job they hate right now, you're like, whoa. Versus if the person on the other side is like cool and chill and doesn't need you, you're like, oh, well, let me know a little bit more about this. All right, I see comments, but let me know if this is landing for you all. Anna says, feeling a little too seen, LOL. I swear for all of you, I'm not like, for anyone here, I am not rough. I picked this topic about a month ago. So everyone knows these notes for this topic have been chosen for a month ago. This is how common it is. So anyone who's feeling seen, anyone who's feeling hopefully heard, this is super, 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 super common. This is a conversation I have with so many of my clients and that comes up with potential clients as well. So no, like I'm not calling anyone out. I'm going to raise my hand for so much of this and just know it's very normal. So if anything, Anna and anyone else, you can just know that you're in good company. Like this is just a super normal thing. And how cool is it to know not only is this normal, but think about it this way. If this is not everyone, but if this is really common, think of how powerful it is for everyone here if you start to think about these things. And even if you pivot 1 or 2 degrees and lean into the action side of all of this a little bit more, think of how powerful that is. You will be doing something different than 95% of the people out there, probably 99% of the people out there. That's a made up stat, but I'd venture a guess that's pretty true. To see if we have any other comments. No. I'm going to give an example here because I think this is maybe just also helpful to hear, because I think just in the online space, I'm so grateful for the online space. And I think there's just a lot of get rich quick. This is how easy it was for me. Business is simple, but like sometimes the process isn't easier. This is how fast it happened for me. We don't always get the full story and the full picture. And so I'm going to very transparently share this with you also. One of my superpowers, letting things take as long as they're going to take. And thank God that was one of my superpowers, because that meant part of the reason that had to be one of my superpowers is I'm not an overnight success. My business didn't blow up overnight. I have a very successful business that's continuing to grow. I've been fully booked for over a year. I have a wait list. Like, things are good. My business started making money right at the start, but I'd say I grew slow and steady. And at the start of my business, because of that, and because of just having this mentality always, I'm just going to let things take not longer than they need to take. I'm not going to sabotage myself. I'm just going to let them take however long they take. From day one, like when I started my business, I had a 9-to-5, y'all. And I had no shame in telling clients that. And I was proud of that because it took all the pressure off. And then I got a part-time job. I had a part-time job for a good, I want to say a year and a half for a good portion when I was starting my business, so that there was never pressure on the business to perform for me. And I could just show up and let it like serve my people really well and let it take whatever time it was going to take. I still think things happen relatively quickly and faster because of that, but I think that's just important to know and important to share because we hear so much, the other way. Now, that doesn't mean for anyone here, like it can happen. I have clients who've gotten fully booked in 6 months. I know people who've I had a client go from 10K months to 100K months within 6 months. Like, things can happen very quickly. That was just with where I was at. And I say that as well because if that's where you're at, or like, there's nothing wrong with that, and it's just going to take however long it's going to take. But if we allow that and we embrace that and we don't make it wrong, it does speed up the process. Where we get ourselves into trouble is when we start making ourselves wrong, and when we start making that mean something about us or our work, or make it mean that we don't know enough or that we're not good enough, versus that's just how long it's taking. I'm trying to think of another good example outside of business. I'm always talking about running. So running might be a good example. If you were going to run a marathon and train for it, like, sure, it'd be really cool to be that person who breaks the speed, wins the race, breaks the speed barrier. That's not even a thing for running. But if your goal is to finish the marathon, at the end of the day, are you proud that you finished the marathon? Or is it like really matter if you like did it 1 minute faster or 5 minutes faster than someone else? Unless you're like doing this for like, that's your living and that's what you do for the speed. It's kind of like, I just want to finish this marathon. And what that means is like, it's just going to take however long it's going to take for you to run the marathon. But I can tell you right now, the best way to not run that marathon and to never cross the finish line is if at mile 1, you're like, well, fuck, I'm not at pace and I'm not running fast enough, I'm out. Or if at mile 2 or at mile 3 or what a lot of us do is we're at mile 25.5 and we're like, this isn't going fast enough. I'm going too slow. And we just quit when we're like a mile away from the finish line. So that is my rant on that. But y'all, I like cannot stress this one enough. Like, it's so, so, so important. Please just embrace. If you can embrace this, you will be unstoppable. Just allowing it to take as long as it's going to take. Not any longer. We're not self-sabotaging, but as long as it's going to take. And then the piece with this that I know I've talked about with as well is just embracing that there's generally a gap of time from the time we have an idea, when we start taking action, and the time the results start showing up. And that's just normal. If I plant a seed, there's a gap of time from the time I plant that seed to when it starts growing and sprouting. And that's just normal. Doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. Affinity says excellent information. Just seeing if we have, I don't think I have any other comments on the Facebook. Okay, that is what I have for you all. I will recap these, and then I was very long-winded y'all today. Thank you for hanging with me for all of the comments, and I have a couple announcements as well. So we'll do a quick recap and then the announcement. So just to summarize that, the ways we stay stuck and what we want to shift out of for those massive results. And I promise y'all, if you lean into these things, you will see your results go up. One, just waiting for that perfect idea or perfect clarity around the perfect idea, our perfect ideal client, our perfect niche. All of these things are a way we stay stuck. And the antidote to that, am I saying the right word there, is to take that very imperfect action towards what we think we want, towards what we value, towards what we think we want to move towards, and getting that information, data, and refining as we go. The next one is waiting to be ready. We're never going to be ready. I mean, you're rarely going to be ready. Most of us, like the best time, what is it the saying? The best time to start was yesterday. The second best time is today. So anything you're not feeling ready in, again, we're just addressing and identifying that there's some fear there. We're not going to argue with it. And we're going to start to see, what am I not feeling ready about? How can I sit in this discomfort and be that superhero who's okay with the discomfort and start to take those baby steps forward towards what I want? Baby steps forward will still get you forward. That's all that matters, is moving the needle forward. And the third one there is being willing to just let it take as long as it's going to take. Not longer, but just as long as it's going to take, and not making that wrong, and knowing that the sooner we do that, the faster, ironically, the results come in. So that is the recap. Andrew says, you're awesome. This was so great. You're awesome. Thank you. I appreciate everyone here so much. I love you all so much. So thank you. Okay. Announcements. Next week we have I do a free training every month. We have a free training, Who I Had to Become to Make 20K Months, and how you can step into your CEO identity now. I'm very excited about this. For any of you who know me and my work, I'm just so big on mindset, and what we're going to dig into is not just who I had to become, but that so much of that success that we all have is so much about who we're being. Like, that's where we get our success. That's how we create money. It's about who we're being and how we step into that. So I'm going to share some behind the scenes of my story, as well as we're going to break down. I always have a workbook, playbook, and we'll talk about identity and how to step into your CEO identity. I'm always excited for this. I feel like I say this every week. I'm so excited for this, but I'm really excited for this one. I think what'll be fun, it's one of my favorite topics to talk about. It's one I talk with clients about a lot, and it's just a really fun and powerful exercise. So we will have that next week. Be sure to sign up for it so you can get the playbook. There's links in all the profiles. And then the other thing I do want to announce is, well, I guess two things. One, I was opening up to intensives for the month of November. I only have one left, and then I don't know that I'm opening up anymore until the new year. So if you do want to see what it'd be like to work together, if you want some support to help you build, grow, scale your business in a way that you love, to take that action, to make that money that you want, and you want to get yourself set up for 2020 now, because 2020 results start with our action now. Like, that's how we plant the seeds, right? Book a time to talk about that and grab that last intensive, one more for the month of November. And then my other big announcement, hey Grant, nice to have you on here, just wrapping up. My other big announcement that we will talk more about, I guess it's going to be in 2 weeks. I want to have a big conversation around this with you. My rates are going up in January for very specific and intentional reasons. I'm really excited to have this conversation with you, but I don't want to wait until then to tell you this, because I have a few spots I'm going to keep open at my current rates. If you've been thinking about working with me long term and you want to chat more about that and see what it would be like to have my support to help you build, grow, and scale a business that you love, that lights you up, that you are running the way you want to run, and that also makes you money, let's talk. Let's book a coaching consultation and talk about that, because once those spots are gone, my rates will be going up. And a lot of my clients work with me long term. You get locked in at your rate. So if you do decide to work with me, any of my current clients, just so you know, you're untouchable in that space. I always honor my clients who have been with me, whatever rate you've been at, you get locked in, grandfathered in, is that the term? At those rates. So this is a great time to talk with me and book one of those calls before 2020. I have to double check, but I think I'm going to open up 3 spots at my current rates. And then after that, they will be going up quite dramatically. So hop on that, y'all. We do some really great work. I love my fucking clients, and I'm all in with you as your partner, coach, and mentor. So would love to chat with you. I think those are all the announcements. And just seeing if we have any other comments. If not, I will see you next week. Instagram, I don't think I'll be live on Instagram because we're doing that training. So be sure to sign up for it. Facebook, Besties and Bosses, I will be back on Tuesday, and we will have our training and talk CEO identity. Love you all. Thank you for being here. Thanks for being a part of my world. You all make me just love my work that much more. Hey Joe, I'm just hopping off, but thank you for being here. Thanks for the hearts, y'all. All right, lots of love. See everyone next week. Bye. All right, let's see. We're gonna end here, and bye.